Once upon a time, a great monk was lying on his deathbed. Before passing away, he gathered his young disciple, the one he had chosen as his successor, and said, "Remember one thing, never allow a cat into your life." With these final words, the master took his last breath. A large crowd had gathered to hear the last statement of the revered monk, and everyone was stunned by his unusual final message. Even the young successor was struck silent. He couldn't stop asking himself, "Why should I not allow a cat in my life?" The master was cremated with full rituals and great respect. Yet the young monk remained puzzled. Days passed, and his thoughts only deepened. He could not understand the deeper meaning of that warning. In the monastery, there was also an old monk who had lived alongside the master for many years. He had watched his life closely and knew him well. However, the old monk was not chosen as a successor, not because he lacked wisdom, but because of his advanced age and declining health. One day, noticing that the young monk had been lost in thought for several days, the old monk approached him and asked, "Why do you seem so troubled?" The young monk hesitated, then finally shared his concern. "Before dying, the master told me not to load in my life, and I don't know what he meant." The old monk smiled gently. "My dear friend," he said, "perhaps you do not know. There is a long story behind it." And he began reading the story. The story goes like this. A long time ago, when the master was a young man, he renounced his home, his wife, and his children in order to seek the truth. He went deep into the forest and began living near a small village. Every day he would travel to the village to beg for food. The villagers were pleased to have him in their village. They often sought his guidance, and out of respect they built a small bamboo cottage for him to live in. The monk had only 2 pieces of clothing. But a problem soon arose. Rats began to enter his cottage and chew on his clothes. This caused him great trouble. He shared his concern with the villagers. One villager suggested, "Why don't you keep a cat? It will drive the rats away." The monk found the idea sensible and accepted a cat from the villagers. As expected, the cat kept the rats away. But then a new problem appeared. Now he had to feed the cat. And for that, he had to go to the village several times, not just once for his own needs, but again and again to get food. The monk shared this new worry as well. The villagers listened and said, "Instead of coming to the village several times a day, why don't you keep a cow? If you have a cow, you'll get milk for the cat and also for yourself. We can give you a healthy cow." The monk agreed and began keeping the cow. Yet soon he realized the cow needed grass and regular care. Since the monk spent most of his time meditating, it became difficult to visit the village several times a day just to beg for grass. He again brought his concern to the villagers. They replied, "It doesn't seem right that a monk like you begs for grass every day. You should have someone to help you." Then they offered a solution. "There is a widow in our village. Her husband has passed away, and she has no family. If we ask her, she would be happy to serve a monk like you. She can take care of your cow, your cat, and even you. We will also clear some land beside your cottage so that she can grow grass and vegetables there." The monk saw nothing wrong with the idea. The villagers spoke to the widow, and she readily agreed. She moved into the cottage and began managing everything, feeding the cow and the cat, maintaining the hut, cooking meals, and working in the small field. She worked with great dedication. The monk watched her efforts, and slowly, without realizing it, he began helping her in the field. Day by day, they spent more time together, working side by side. Their bond deepened. The woman was beautiful, and the monk was young. They lived under the same roof. It was only a matter of time before feelings grew between them. Their relationship became intimate, and ultimately the woman became pregnant. After a few months, she gave birth to a child. The monk who once meditated throughout the day now worked tirelessly in the field to feed his family. He was trapped again in a world he had once left behind. One day, after a long day of work, he sat down and thought, "What happened to me? I renounced my family to seek the truth. But this is the whole world again. I am once again living the same worldly life. It had happened so gradually that he hadn't even noticed until the birth of the child. Then it became clear to him, it all began with the cat. When the old monk finished the story, he looked at the young successor and said, "My friend, when the master told you not to allow a cat in your life, he was not literally talking about cats. He meant this: never give your mind even the smallest indulgence or distraction. Because once you do, it will slowly take over your life without you realizing it." If we honestly look at our lives, we will see that many times we knowingly allow our mind to do things that we are aware are not right for us. We convince ourselves by saying, "just once. It won't become a habit." But that is exactly where the problem begins. The moment you give your mind a little freedom, it starts demanding more. And without even noticing, you fall into its trap. This is how addictions and bad habits are born. Take the example of watching porn. Many youngsters start watching just once, without any intention of becoming a slave to it. They simply give their mind a little space to enjoy. But slowly, it turns into a deep-rooted habit. The same happens with junk food. We know it is harmful, yet we give in just once, and over time, it affects our health, our energy, and our lives. If you enjoyed this story, hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon.